I want to find out from you what inspired you to call this movie about the nation's most horrific and debilitating pandemic, The Memo.
Oh, man, that's funny story about that, Mike, is when I first had the idea to even make a documentary, I didn't know what it was going to be called.
I know you're enjoying my interview with award-winning filmmaker and entrepreneur Anthony Green. He is with us as our special guest on this week's edition of the Thinking Out Loud radio show. And Anthony, we said that we started talking about your recent documentary, The Memo, in the first segment. And I want to continue that and take even a deeper dive into this particular film. I want to find out from you what inspired you to call this movie about the nation's most horrific and debilitating pandemic, The Memo.
Oh, man, that's funny story about that, Mike, is when I first had the idea to even make a documentary, I didn't know what it was going to be called. Like I said at my red carpet premiere, I just got inspired by my buddy telling me, hey, you need to just start capturing events of what's going on. This is historical. So I said, okay. So I just started filming just random streets and empty streets and taking pictures of just what was going on, not knowing that I was going to make what I made, you know what I'm saying? But as I got deep into it, I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna name the film Fighting for Grace. Because at that time, March, April, May, it seemed like we all was coming together collectively as people. We was at home with our families. It seemed like we was praying. We wanted God to really help us. At least I know I did. You know what I'm saying? But it was just a scary time. So I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna call the film Fighting for Grace because it seemed like we're coming together collectively as people. But as I got deep into making the film, we started to get some normalcy back. And I'm looking at the statistics, gun violence back up, domestic violence is up, crime. I say, you know what? Nah, I'm not calling the film Fighting for Grace. For me as a filmmaker, I think I'd be giving my film like a disservice if I called it that, man. So I say, you know what? I'm gonna call it The Memo because some people didn't get it. They didn't get it, man. Like I'm hearing about these students that's getting killed at school, people coming to school shooting them. This is in 24, 25, 23. I'm like, we just came out of this pandemic. You know what I'm saying? God could have allowed some things to happen to all of us in 2020. So we get some normalcy back, and now you got the audacity to go bring harm to someone else. Didn't get it. Didn't get the memo. So, like I said in the film, I really appreciated being locked down with my family. I've learned so much about life, about my family, about myself, and I'm more humble. I'm starting to learn how to really love on others and appreciate people, man. That's what 2020 did for me. And that's what I wanted to really bring when I made the film, especially when I got deep in the film and doing the editing. So a lot of stuff I had to go back and reshoot because I felt like it was missing some things. But yeah, that's the idea of The Memo. It didn't start out as that title. It really started out as Fighting for Grace, but it seemed like the majority of us wasn't fighting for grace.
That is interesting. That is interesting. And the more I'm sure we delve into this documentary, the more that title will resonate with us and even those who are listening to this discussion, this conversation, I think, which is a very important one because COVID was a interesting time, to say the least, for not just those of us in this country, but people around the globe. It was a global pandemic, and it was just a something that I hope we never have to experience again as a nation or as a people, humankind for that matter.
True.
And so for you to have the courage and the tenacity to step out there to chronicle what happened in 2020 is admirable because as you said, we were going through this, but I don't think any of us were saying, well, maybe we should document this. Maybe we should take a step back and record this for historicity's sake. But even after we came out of it, it's your opinion and it's your thought process that has led you to change the name of the movie from Fighting for Grace to The Memo, because we didn't seem to get what God was doing in 2020. It
Mm-hmm.
seemed to go over a lot of our heads,
Yep.
because for something that, what you're saying, for something that catastrophic to happen, it could have only been allowed by God.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to still be here by his grace and not acknowledge it and continue doing things the way we had been or have been, like you said, we didn't get the memo.
Didn't get it. In the beginning of the film, I like kick off the question. I say, as soon as the film come on, it says, I'm wondering years from now, will we become a better people? That's the first thing I say in the film. So towards the end of the film, I started like giving statistics on just things that's going on now or that has happened throughout 2021 all the way up to 2025. And yeah, a lot of people didn't get it, man. And it's unfortunate, man, because God could have, remember that one incident that happened as soon as 2025 came, where the one guy in New Orleans took his truck and ran over people on Bourbon Street. I'm like, bruh, like that could have been you in 2020 that God allowed something to happen to you. And here it is, 2025, man. The first thing that you do at the beginning of the year is run over people on Bourbon Street. Yeah, it's interesting, man. And that's why, like I said, that's why I had called it. And I just thought of that title this year because I knew the film was going to be released in 2025. And it was still Fighting for Grace. But as I started doing my documentation on just different events that has happened from 2021 all the way up until now, yep, I felt like I'd been doing the movie like a disservice, man. It's unfortunate. It's just a lot of violence, man, that's just still going on today.
Absolutely. As we continue our discussion about the film, The Memo, I want you to share with our listeners, what does the filmmaking process look like for a documentary like The Memo? And I want you to share with our listeners, what was that process like for you? The inspiration, the behind the scenes, the storyboarding I'm sure you had to do. Just give us a behind the scenes look at the filmmaking process for this documentary, The Memo.
So when I first got wind of just capturing footage, I just started out with my camera, a little Sony A7 III. I just started just capturing footage and that, and then I had a small audio recorder. So that's really all I had initially, just to start with. I would go out and just capture just different events with my camera, and I'd come home each day, have my camera in front of me, and I have my audio underneath me or on top, and just start talking to the camera. But as things got more serious and the story really began to unfold, yeah, I started storyboarding. I got my niece, Dion, and my other niece, Chastity. They're both are some phenomenal writers. So they began to come up with just different questions and then also people for me to interview. Once they had these questions, I reached out to some people I know. They reached out to people who they knew. And we just pitched the idea, hey, we're doing this documentary. Would you mind meet a business owner to talk about how this is affecting you? I reached out to a few athletes. And we just got just different perspectives, man. But from a technical perspective, one camera, audio, a few storyboards as well, because it was just me. I filmed the whole film by myself because we was on lockdown, and people didn't really feel comfortable being around people at that time. Because COVID was happening, so it was really rough to capture a 35-minute film completely by yourself. You got to make sure things in focus. So I use autofocus a lot. That's definitely for sure. But I also learned a lot too. There's a lot of stuff that you can really do by yourself. And then also too, Mike, there's a lot of rewriting. Some of the questions that I had to go back and really think about it from a different perspective, had to redo questions. And then too, like you said, the storyboard, some of those changed. Because here I am talking about COVID, not knowing that the like George Floyd thing would happen. So now we're on to a whole nother subject. And even Mike, when we did the premiere, like I got some questions in regards to, hey, your film was kind of like jumping all over the place. That's how 2020 was. We went from one thing to another to another. So I wanted to kind of use my film in like
To
an art
mirror
form.
that.
Yeah, exactly. But
Mm.
yeah, I filmed the whole film, the memo by myself, one camera, a few audio devices, man. Like a lot of my interviews I had to do on the phone, with my interviewees. No, I couldn't do one-on-one interviews. As we got closer towards the end of the year, I was able to get a few one-on-one interviews, but mainly the majority of them was I captured on me recording on the actual phone. But that's actually a good thing because it puts you in that perspective on, okay, why he's not doing like a one-on-one interview? I shot it in real time and then I did the editing in real time. It was very challenging. And that's what took me so long to make it. We talking about something that I started shooting in 2020 all the way up until 2025. When you're doing something by yourself, sometimes it takes a little time.
And what I'm starting to understand and really wrap my mind around, because you said you shot this by yourself. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you can speak to it in just a minute, but making the comparison between now and shooting movies or shooting films now versus how you shot this particular film back in 2020 are much different because you have other cameras, you can do multiple cameras, you can do multiple perspectives, you can do more storyboards, you can do different locations and things of that nature. But I think what even speaks to the degree to which you shot this film, not just by yourself, but the way you shotting it with one camera, shooting it in real time, editing it in real time, really speaks to how restrictive we were in 2020. And how COVID really, for lack of I'm really trying to frame this right, but COVID really dictated, for lack of a better word there, how you could film this movie or this documentary about COVID, about what happened because of what was going on in the world, in the United States, in the region, in the city. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to be creative. You had to really put your thinking cap on to really show how difficult it was to put something like this out there for people to view and to see. You am I clear on what I'm trying to get at?
Mm-hmm. Crystal. And then, like I said, truly did not know what I was capturing would turn into what. I didn't know that it would turn into this. This is
Right.
something I started, and as I began to look at all these clips, I'm like, wait a minute, there's a lot of stuff still happening, man. Let me get with my nieces and see if we can come up with some great questions to ask these doctors and these educators. And by the grace of God, man, he started giving me just clear vision on just people I should interview. And thank God for my nieces, man, because they are very, very educated and they really helped me throughout this whole process. Without them, I don't know if I would have finished the film, man, because again, I had no direction. This is something that was thought of on a weekend. And one day I just started shooting footage. But yeah, it was a difficult process, but it was fun because I learned a lot in regards to just making a documentary all by myself. Yep.
Amazing. What can you share with our listeners? What are some of the memorable moments that you have in shooting this film, the editing process, some interesting moments that you remember or recall when you were out there making this film that we know of as the Memo?
There's a few of them, Mike. The one shot in the film when I was downtown on Woodward, and I was getting shot of the Pistons arena. Like a lot of people, like a lot of people applaud me on this shot because the shot that I got was from the street perspective, looking at the arena, and literally there was no car in the atmosphere, man. It was just a quiet shot where it's just empty street and all the street and the arena. So people was like, "Did you block off the street?" I'm like, "No, that was real. We was when no one going nowhere. Everyone was at home. Matter of fact, I was scared to go out. You know what I'm saying? But I had to get up every morning and just go get just B-roll footage to help create just different stories. So that's one that I'll never forget, that shot, just that moment when I was capturing that. I'm like, this is really happening. There's no one in the streets, no one walking, when no cars during that moment, zero but me. And then two, there's a part where we got word that one of the first people that was very close to my family, which was Ray Glenn. Ray, he was one of the first people I knew that was close to my family that had passed away. And that was just a devastating loss. So that's another moment that I never forget. And that's why I want to highlight Ray in the film, because he was one of the first people that I personally knew that it really hit home. I'm like, this is a real thing, man. This is literally, when we got word that he passed away, it was like devastating from COVID. And of course, my brother Gary, he passed away again during a beautiful day when my daughter that's supposed to have graduated from Eastern Michigan University. My brother Gary just decided to do a drive-by and to show some love, and gave her some balloons. And like later on, you know what happened. Those three moments in the film for me, man, there's a lot more, but those three moments in specific, man, are three that I'll never forget.
I remember that very vividly, and it was very interesting time, for lack of a better word, to really describe what was happening. People close to you succumbing to this virus, and just you when you hear the news, you can't believe it. You were trying to wrap your mind around, wow, that this person is no longer here. And not only that they're no longer here, but they can't even be properly mourned. That you can't even go to a funeral and say your goodbyes to this person they are because of this pandemic, and for fear of contracting the virus, and just so many variables there that you had to consider. And having this conversation is just bringing back so many different feelings and memories of what took place back in 2020, of course, and obviously talking about police brutality and talking about George Floyd and what happened there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I remember doing podcasts about George Floyd and even creating commercials on my podcast from clips of protests that were happening not just in the United States, but around the world. Protests in Sweden and Greece and in London. You're hearing people of different races and nationalities declare Black Lives Matter, Black Lives, hundreds of thousands of people in Paris and London and Greece and Sweden saying Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. I took that clip and created a commercial specifically for that reason on our podcast. And it's just, I really, again, wanted to really take a deep dive and talk about the memo and the subject matter that you covered during that particular time, because it was deep. It was a deep documentary. I have seen it. I was at the red carpet premiere when he first put it out there, and very impressed with it, and very happy to have my friend Anthony Green, filmmaker, award-winning filmmaker, with us on this week's edition of the Thinking Out Loud radio show, guys. And we're getting ready to take our last break. But when we come back, we're going to give you our conclusion of our interview with award-winning filmmaker Anthony Green. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. We'll be right back.